Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back for another YouTuber Spotlight review. This time I am looking at Wretched Folklore, written by Lordmatteus from YouTube fame and fortune out there. It's a wretched bestiary by Lordmatteus. In addition to it being a bestiary, it's got several other small articles to help fill this very small volume. I was really actually blown away with how small it is, but yet how much you can pack into it, even with some full page art like that one. Not bad, not bad. I couldn't do better. It reminds me of it actually reminds me of the art from the old Might and Magic manual that came with the Sega Genesis game. I don't know. Maybe that's just because I stared at that book so much as a kid. But it has several different sections in here. And the first section, chapter 1, is Prairie Madness, which I could see using it. And I should probably preface this with it's made to be used with either Wretched Country or Wretched Epoque, I believe. I'm pretty sure I remember reading that multiple times. Now, Prairie Madness seems like, on the surface, something you might want to throw in. What I didn't like, and this is going to be a recurring theme, Lordmatteus, is the numbers seem to be really, really in favor of failure on the player character parts. Now, I could be wrong. I could be missing some things like stat bonuses, etc. But from what I remember from the Wretched RPG and Wretched Country, even if you're allowed to roll 4d6 for your stats and keep the highest 3, it still looks really, really in favor of failure. Not just in failing against the Prairie Madness, which seems to be almost an inevitability if it's more than like a month. It's just I'm kind of a numbers guy, so it seems like it's just a matter of when, not if, you fail, and that could lead to what I'm also going to refer to is the spiral of death, or the death spiral, where because of situations that are occurring in the game, it's just a matter of when you get a TPK, or at least a player character death. Now, some games like Call of Cthulhu, that's a given. You go into the game knowing you're going to die, just not exactly when. And if that's something I'm missing with Wretched, that's fine. I could be down for that, but I tend to not be able to play it as serious as I should when it's just a matter of, it being game over, at least for my character or whatnot. Maybe something I could work on, but I don't usually go into a game expecting to fail. I'm going to try, but if trying is pointless, then so is the game, in my opinion. But, you guys can help me out with that, trying to figure out, why I would think such a thing. Maybe, and mind you, I've lost a lot of characters. I lost 4 and 5 characters in 2 separate game sessions, and I'm still playing. So, but otherwise, the different types of effects from the Prairie Madness and the weather effects, not a bad chapter to have. Games need stuff like that. The Spiritualist is an interesting character class, especially for the time. I kind of thought this was already covered, but okay. The psychic abilities, I like that, especially in games that don't normally want to embrace that. I think psychic abilities and psychic phenomenon would be a more likely explanation for things we've read about or heard about, or maybe even experienced, than the supernatural. But depending on the situation, either or could be the case. A D4 hit dice, okay. Obviously more of a magic userly type, not a full gung-ho fighterly type, or even a roguish type. Definitely somebody to keep at the back of the party until the fighting's done. The bonus skills, cool. The experience points seems about right. The different psychic manifestations are all what you'd expect. Everything from precognition to, what were some of the others? Telekinesis, telepathy, things like that, including pyrokinesis. I don't remember, was there a teleport? Because if there's teleport, that would be the first thing I'm picking. At any opportunity to be able to teleport, sign me up. That's just the ultimate power, in my opinion. Now, the problem I had with this was, again, the psychic mishap. Every single result here, except maybe if you just get the weaker one, seems like you're going to die. So that makes me leery of wanting to run a character like that if using your main power is going to lead to death. I don't remember the exact odds. I think it's kind of like a fumble check. If you fail, you're gonna suffer one of these awful consequences. Psychic whiplash. You take a d6 damage per level of the power, which means it's probably going to kill you if you're a d4 hit die character and you're taking a d6 per level, unless it's talking about the level of the power, in which case, again, better not be using powers above your level, or even if you're like 5th level and you're using a 5th level power, it better be a life or death situation where it's a, like a 50-50, you're going to die anyways kind of thing. Otherwise, it seems a little harsh on the effects and the damage right off the bat. It's a d6 per level. More often than not, that's going to kill you, and I can't get behind that. It's just a little too much, unless, again, like I said at the beginning, the goal is to die as opposed to live as long as possible and just die in a really cool, spectacular way. Been in a lot of games like that, but I don't get that impression. I understand it's supposed to be dark and gritty, etc., and I hate to use the word realistic, but something akin to realism. But you might just be better off running a fighter. Sorry, the dog's being a bit of a butthead. I'll just close this and we can. Well, anyways, and here he comes as soon as I close the door. Typical. But like I said, the manifestations, you've got precognition, telekinesis, manifest, ectoplasm. I thought that was an interesting one. Summon spirit guide actually sounds kind of awesome. Pyrokinesis, who doesn't want to be a fire starter? The reincarnation, that's kind of a biggie, but at the same time, maybe that's what you're shooting for, because it's a level 5. Now, the next chapter is the bestiary, and the first part is the North American creatures. All very, very interesting, very, very fun. I did notice that quite a few of them end up being described as looking like hags. That's kind of weird. Or old people or things like that, versus some of the more interesting ones. This frog guy right here, I love that one, especially with the damming up waterways and things like that. Now, mind you, there are a good number of good old-fashioned regular Western creatures: the Wendigo, the big owl, the skinwalkers, things like that. But and this is not on you, the headless man and the flying head, but with so many of them being or looking like hags and old men and things like that, I'm wondering if the mythology comes from people just mistaking old folks for monsters, which look at me getting old. I don't want to be mistaken for a monster unless I'm actually trying to pull that off around Halloween or something. Again, artwork, very nice artwork. I don't know who did your artwork. Actually, I do, and I wanted to get to that before I finish the book. And then the second half of the bestiary, let me see if I can find it without flipping past it. The European folklore creatures, that's mostly where the old hag and witch syndrome, I think, came across my attention. Baba Yaga, of course, is in here, but there were some other ones I'd never heard of. That it's funny how some of them seem to have similar motifs, like the dog and the wolf, in both country or both continents, I should say, not countries. The take on the golem was exactly as most of us know it. The Gorgon, the create golem spell could definitely be something that could come into play and become very, very handy. Now, one thing with the monsters, it occurred to me while reading this that if it's bigger than man size, you really have to run unless you outnumber the creature. And by outnumber, I mean you also outgun the creature, going at it with swords and knives and things like that. You're just going to get slaughtered, because I did see a lot of the equivalent of like 8 hit die monsters, and I realized that a group of 4 second level characters should be able to take down an 8th level character, but it also occurred to me that you're going to lose somebody, and that's not exactly common in a lot of RPGs, especially today where everybody lives. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of character death. I did a small series on it a while ago, but it does seem like it's more likely than not, as opposed to, in some games where if you just play smart, you can avoid such situations. In this one, I got the feeling that adventuring is a one-way ticket to the grave, and making it to 10th level is probably not likely, especially with the maximum experience points being around like 4,000, which I'm assuming you have to divide amongst the party, or even worse, the guy who gets the killing blow. I hope that's not the case, which would, when you're looking at, let's go back to just the spiritualist level progression, 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, 17, 32,000, 70,000. Let's just go at 5th level, 17,000. That means by then you and your party had to have killed several, if not a dozen or more, of these really big nasties, which I don't think should occur but like once in a character career, unless it's sort of a campaign or adventure arc where you're going to be running into some of these big things. But like Baba Yaga, that's a one-time thing, or a long adventure where it culminates in the defeat maybe of Baba Yaga or the death of the party. It seems like it's going to be very, very hard to get those XP through combat. Now, I know that the combat XP is not the only way to get experience points, and I'll have to go back over and look at other ways to get experience points, because I do recall that it being somewhat easy to get them if you're playing very in character, and especially, playing to your virtues and vices. Non-player characters: the Charlatan, Stage Magician, Navajo Medicine Man as the Preacher, and the Mad Scientist Tinker. Hate to say it, but all of those actually sound like great character class options, as opposed to just non-player characters. The Charlatan, Stage Magician, I can see people wanting to play that. The Medicine Man, the Preacher, and of course the Mad Scientist Tinker. If you had a party of one of each of those, that would make for a very interesting and very wretched game, just saying. But that's what I got for you. I left a lot of things in there for you, Mateus, to get back to me and explain them. I'd like to see if you could explain them in the comment section, so that people who read this will get the answers as well. Because all in all, I really did like what I saw. Now, last question. When it comes to the art, it says AI art generated by Midjourney. Whenever I've heard that, I thought it was Midjourney, and maybe that's a typo. And Stable Diffusion, additional art, Adobe Stock. Okay, like that picture right there. That's just as good as I've seen in bigger companies, bigger production staffs, etc. Although I don't know if this is meant to be on purpose. It's kind of unnecessary. Same picture. You open the book. There's the same picture. Also, another little redundancy. What's written on the back is also the opening on the first page. I found that honestly a little unnecessary. I'd rather see a whole nother page or two of actual content. Maybe it was just something to get the page count up a little higher, or to get to an even number or something like that. Just one or two more pieces of art and a couple of paragraphs would have cleaned that up and given you a little more. But to be honest, I would like to see more from you if you're going to do this kind of thing, because a lot of the Western creatures I just never seen before. And mind you, I've got just about every Western RPG out there, and to see more creatures and ideas to throw into a Western quasi-supernatural kind of game actually seems like something that I'd be, definitely into, seeing as that Western is kind of my thing. And I was amazed at just how many creatures you shoved in here that I had never seen or heard of. I would love to, gotten maybe a little bibliography or cited some sources of where you'd heard of these critters, but you can do that in the comment section, or if it's too much, the Discord is another place you can get a hold of me, as you know. But thanks for sending me this out. I really enjoyed it. But the worst thing is, it's just too dang skinny. It needs more pages, bro. Maybe you'll do a revised version. I don't know how that works yet. But thanks again, everybody out there. I will see you guys later on this evening with another video. Until then, have a great day, and as always, happy trails.